I talked about this a couple weeks ago, but I think I'm going to do it again because I've been knee deep in reading the fourth Game of Thrones book, and I've been thinking about it a lot because anyone who knows me for 2 seconds knows that I love Lord of the Rings. I adore it. I can tell you more information about Lord of the Rings and Tolkien folklore than anyone would ever want to hear. But there is a fatal flaw in Lord of the Rings, and that is that it functions on not just fantasy in the sense of the high fantasy genre, but in the fantasy of black and white and good and evil. And as great as that would be, if our world was divided into, good people and orcs, it's not. And that's where I think the value of Game of Thrones comes in, because the series will never hold the same place in my heart that Lord of the Rings does, but it definitely speaks much more powerfully and much more complexly about the nature of people and the way that people treat each other and the way the world works. Because Lord of the Rings' power comes from the idea that anyone can be great, anyone can be a hero. A hobbit from the Shire of no particular grand background, no combat training, not especially intelligent. They don't know magic or anything, they just are good people. Their strength comes from that. And that's what Lord of the Rings bases itself on, and I love that. I love that idea that anyone can be a hero, anyone can be great, it just is a matter of what's inside, etc., etc. But that is dangerously idealistic, especially nowadays, where being idealistic, as nice as it is, isn't very practical. And I don't think anyone has ever thought of Game of Thrones as idealistic. It is gritty in the best sense, not in the, new superhero movies trying to be edgy and cool with the kids. It is gritty in that it is disgusting, and that's what war and battles were. I think the season 6, episode 9, Battle of the Bastards, was probably one of the best battle sequences I've ever seen because of how honest it was. There wasn't big swooping crane shots of valor and heroes. There was gore, there was luck. You see your protagonist coming this close to death like 10 times in a minute, being saved only by chance. A stray arrow, a horse tripping. And that was the truth of it. And Game of Thrones gets at the truth that things aren't black and white. There isn't good and evil. There isn't a dark lord sitting in a tower, and if we can take him down, then we've won and the world will be fine. I wish. I know there's a very certain tower that I would love to knock down, but I know that wouldn't solve any of our problems. In Game of Thrones, there is no good and evil. There are people who do some evil things. If you look at Ramsay Bolton, it's very hard to find the humanity in him. But I wouldn't say there are any truly good, pure characters, except maybe Rickon, and that's because he was a kid. He didn't have a lot of time to do anything bad, or anything at all noteworthy, except die. Spoilers. And I talked about this earlier as far as comparing Star Trek and Star Wars, but I don't think I enunciated it very well. So all I mean to say is that as much as I love to believe in the Frodos and the Bilbos of the world, I really do think there's more Daenerys's and Cersei's and Jon's. Because, you root for some of them, you root against some of them, but they all have flaws, Cersei, as much as she's being presented to us as the villain, no one can deny that she is, like, a supreme motherly figure. She has literally done anything and everything for her children, or at least tried to. And Daenerys, as much as I root for her and want her to win, she can be a little bit much sometimes. Headstrong is a nice way of putting it, obstinately stubborn is kind of how I would say it. Pot, kettle, whatever. And I think that that's something really fascinating, and I think that I need to give massive props to George R. R. Martin for the way he did that, because as much as I am infatuated with Tolkien's beautiful world, beautiful language, it does feel very much like a fantasy. And I think that was his point. He wanted to make something idealistic. He wanted to give people a story where they could have heroes and love them, and most of them wouldn't die. But George R. R. Martin has upended that kind of ideal and said, you know what? No, this is not how the world works. You know, I go to Lord of the Rings to escape the world. I go to Game of Thrones to gain an understanding of it. That's a good one. I should copyright that. Anyway, this is what I'm doing instead of writing my philosophy paper and studying for finals. Let me know if it was a worthwhile waste of my time.